Hey, what is going on, guys? RZ Stealth here, and in today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the AD carry tier list for patch 8.18. There's still a few days left to enter into the headset and the RP giveaway. If you guys are interested in entering into that, then there is going to be a link down in the description below. So a newcomer here in the S tier for 8.18 is Lucian, and I'm just really not too sure as to what Riot is thinking buffing this champion, because I feel like last patch, Lucian was one of the most balanced AD carries. He wasn't super strong, he wasn't really weak, I think he was in a pretty good spot, and then they just decided to buff him, and now in this patch here, in my opinion, he is the best blind pick AD carry for 8.18. So Lucian's Q is what got buffed in this patch. It did get a 20% increase on the AD ratio, and because Q is what you max out first on Lucian, it means that his early to mid game is even stronger than it was before, and Lucian's always been one of the better early to mid game AD carries, so because we are still in a pretty early to mid game focused meta, Lucian is a much stronger pick now for this patch. Lucian's even better in this meta right now as well, because the most picked supports right now are also these aggro supports that want to be getting kills in the laning phase. Alistar, Thresh, Pyke, and Rakan are all the most picked supports in this patch right now, and they're just great with Lucian. It just adds for his ability to snowball in the early game, and if you can play a good Lucian right now, you can just have a ton of success on him. Now for the build there on Lucian, nobody's really going Essence Reaver anymore on him. When it first got changed, a lot of people were going for it as a third item, but pretty much every single pro player right now is just going for Bork into Black Cleaver and then Rapid Fire Cannon as your core build. And now in this patch here, Absolute Focus and Gathering Storm is what you should be looking to take instead of the Celerity and Gathering Storm, because a few patches back, Celerity did get hit with a nerf and it's not as good anymore on most of the AD carries. So second in the S tier for this patch is going to be Miss Fortune. So Miss Fortune is still one of the best AD carries for 8.18. She's been S tier for multiple patches in a row now for solo queue. She's just a very easy to execute AD carry. She's one of the easiest AD carries to pick up in the game. She spikes really early on in the game with the Youmu's and the Duskblade. She also has one of the best team fights for any AD carry, so she does have a lot of what you're looking for in a solo queue AD carry. Now for the runes on MF in this patch, you can either go Dark Harvest or Comet. Both are great options on her. It kind of does depend on the lane that you're in or what you're looking to do. If you're in a lane to where you think you have a lot of kill pressure in the early game, if you want more kill pressure in the laning phase, then I would run the Comet. If you're in a lane though to where your support is someone who isn't really aggressive, if you're playing with someone like a Janna or a Soraka and you don't think you have a ton of kill pressure, then you can run the Dark Harvest, which is going to give you a lot of scaling insurance. Now, even though most AD carries did move over to Absolute Focus, Miss Fortune is still one of the few that does very well with Celerity, because Celerity synergizes with your bonus movement speed, and because Miss Fortune's W does give her a decent amount of bonus movement speed, Celerity is still a good choice for her. So Draven is still a very strong AD carry for 8.18. Right now, he's the most banned AD carry for this patch, and it's for pretty good reason. Draven's early game is still one of the strongest, if not the strongest for any AD carry in this patch, and similar to Lucian, because we are seeing a lot of these aggro supports being played right now, Draven just gets that much better, because Draven paired up with a Thresh, a Rakan, a Blitzcrank, a Pyke, any of these CC aggressive supports, you're gonna be able to look for kills in the laning phase, and if you can get that one kill with Draven, then you can completely take over games. There's not too much new to say about Draven though for this patch. It's still Stormrazor into Bloodthirster and then Rapid Fire Cannon for your build. The runes are still pretty much the same on Draven as well. Conquer, Celerity, or Absolute Focus for your secondary rune there. Celerity is still a good option on Draven as well, because like MF, he does have the move speed steroid with his W, so the synergy is still pretty good with that. If you do want that extra laning pressure though, and a little bit more damage in the laning phase, then you can run Absolute Focus. So next in the S tier is going to be Caixa, and along with Lucian, Caixa is one of the most contested AD carry picks for 8.18 in solo queue. She's just a very versatile AD carry pick because you can go for a lot of different builds on Caixa depending on the situation. Because she does mix damage, there's never really a risk in like blind picking Caixa, and she's also great if your team does have a heavy AD composition. You are going to see a lot more heavy AD compositions in solo queue, and Kai'Sa's just great for that because you can go for the build of Rageblade, Nashers, Rabadons. Your build can switch up depending on the situation, which does make her a pretty nice blind pick. Now, Kai'Sa's early game is definitely a little bit weaker compared to a lot of the other AD carries in the S tier here, but she does scale very well into the mid to late game. Her 3-item spike is one of the strongest for any AD carries, so if you can reach that point, you can really take over games with Caixa. She's also a pretty strong pick right now because she's great against a lot of these dive champions that just want to get onto you in team fights and try to burst you out. Because of your ultimate, it just makes her a pretty good pick against these most played assassins right now, like the Kassadin in the mid lane, the Fizz. You've also got a lot of dive champions and bruiser picks being played in the top lane, so she's overall just a pretty good fit for the current meta. And then to round out the S tier here is going to be Jhin, and Jhin is also a very good pick for this patch because he's great paired up with the CC supports. You have a ton of kill pressure in the laning phase with Jhin on this patch, and you can just really get a good snowball going, get to your Stormrazor early on into the game, and once you hit that Stormrazor rapid fire cannon on Jhin, your mid game becomes extremely strong. Hail of Blades has now pretty much become the #1 keystone rune on Jhin. A few Jhin players are still running Fleet Footwork or Comet, but most pro players and most high elo Jhin players have pretty much exclusively switched over to Hail of Blades. The synergy that Hail of Blades does have with Jin's kit just gives him a lot of extra AD, which is really nice there for the mid to late game. So for tier 2 or A tier in this patch, we've got Vayne moving up into A tier. So Vayne did get a buff in this patch to her Q. Her Q's cooldown went from a 6-second cooldown at rank 1 down to a 4-second cooldown. And this does a few things for Vayne. It allows her to trade a little bit better in the early game because she's got a very short cooldown trading ability. It also allows her to CS a little bit better under tower with that Q being an auto attack reset. And it also allows for you to now go for a W max first on Vayne. Because of this change here, you don't really need to max your Q out first. The reason to why most people did max Q out first on Vayne was to put it on the very short cooldown, but because of the buff, you can now max W out first, and the W max is gonna allow you to deal just a lot more consistent damage there with Vayne. And then even though these, I guess, cheese picks with the Swain, Heimer, Ziggs, and Bran, they're not seeing as much play anymore, but that doesn't really mean they're weaker right now. I still think that these picks are very good for solo queue. If you can play them well, then you are still going to be able to have success with them. They're still really good picks for the early to mid game, so if you want to play them, then I would still definitely recommend it. So for tier 3, these are your mediocre picks, your picks that you can still do well with. I still think they can be pretty strong picks for solo queue, but they are still definitely outclassed by your tier 1 and your tier 2 picks. Now Quinn is an AD carry that did go from tier 1 in previous patches down to tier 3. She did get hit with the nerfs to runes. Electrocute did end up getting hit with the nerf. You also saw a nerf to Scorch and Celerity as well as to Sudden Impact, so it does impact Quinn a lot more than some of the other AD carries. She also did get a scaling change to her AD a few patches ago, so Quinn has been hit over the past few patches, and I no longer think she is a top tier AD carry for 8.18. So Kalista, Varus, and Kog'Maw are going to be your C tier AD carries for 8.18. Pretty much what it comes down to is these 3 AD carries are just much weaker versions than the champions in like your tier 2 and your tier 1. If you're looking for a strong early game AD carry right now, then there's just no point in playing Kalista. You can play Lucian, Misfortune, Draven, and have much better success than Kalista. Varus has been really weak for the past few months for solo queue. He got a nerf a while back to his passive as well as to his W, which put him from being one of the strongest AD carries down to one of the worst AD carries, and he hasn't really received any changes to make him stronger over the patches, so he's still a pretty weak AD carry right now for this patch. And then Kog'Maw right now for solo queue, I just think he's a pretty weak pick in general for solo queue, and especially for the current meta, because he's a pick that literally has no self peel, and because the meta right now consists of just a lot of dive champions being played and a lot of strong CC supports being played down in the bot lane, if you get picked off with Kog'Maw, if you can't get rolling on the pick in the early to mid game, then you're just going to be a very weak champion. And even once you do reach the mid to late game, even if you do get fed on the pick, if the enemy team just has a fed assassin or a fed dive champion, it's just going to be very hard to play Kog'Maw in solo queue. So that is going to be all for this video, guys. That's what we're looking at for AD carry in 8.18. If you guys did enjoy this video, then be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you have yet to already. So thanks for watching, guys. Have an awesome day, and I will see you in my next video.